living my story as I trust His story.
Well, we were anxiously awaiting for the end of September. It was due September 30th, and you kind of get past that first trimester of, things can happen, things can go wrong, but once you get into that second trimester, you kind of have that impression that, okay, now you're just on the waiting game, and the pregnancy was perfect. We had a couple extra ultrasounds because they thought my belly was measuring big, so they just wanted to do some more measurements, but other than that, everything was fine, and we were just going week to week at the end, just going to our doctor's appointments, and then we even had a doctor's appointment on the 24th for my 39-week appointment, and everything was fine. Then our world was drastically flipped upside down the very next day. We went home and ate some dinner to try to stimulate the baby and laid down for kick counts, and I didn't feel anything. Got to the hospital, and after 2 Dopplers and an ultrasound, they told us that there was no heartbeat.
Just shocked us when they told us. Even when they were doing the ultrasound, I still thought, they'll find it, they're just not finding it at the moment, but they'll find it.
We asked them to do a second ultrasound just to be sure, and they showed us. And what we had seen 3 weeks ago, beating, wasn't. We couldn't imagine being out in the real world with the pain that we were having and having people look at us with happy faces. So we decided to be induced right away, and they started the induction at 1:30 in the morning on the 26th, and 21 hours later I finally had them. It was a long 24 hours.
Jill was pretty tired and pretty out of it, and she went to sleep. And I remember just it was a pretty large room, and I remember walking kind of back and forth, holding him, rocking him, and talking to him, and how much Mom and Dad loved him. Said a few curse words. Told him that I really wish I could just teach him about everything here. I don't remember what else. I just remember just talking to him constantly.
I never once was angry with God. In that 24 hours between finding out and having him, I did a lot of praying and hoping and wishing that my miracle would be created and that the doctors were wrong. So I kind of felt during that 24 hours a little distant from God, but I never once was ever angry.
For me, I've seen God specifically when I was holding Colin that first time. Even though I was very mad, but I just felt like he was right there with me. I think he was, helping me through, and yes, I said things that I'll probably have to answer to him later, but I feel that he can understand where I was coming from, and I wanted nothing more than to have my son here with me. So, but for me, that was probably the closest I've ever felt to God.
I've definitely felt God's presence through all of this in one way or another, but a lot of my feeling for God is actually through our second pregnancy with Lucas, because there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear, and if I didn't feel Lucas moving for a while, I would just, beg and plead for him to move, and within, 30 seconds, usually he would kick or something. And this overwhelming peace would just come into my heart and into my mind, and I knew that the only way that I could have that peace was from God. So I've had a lot of direct feeling of God's presence through our second pregnancy.
The story from the Bible that I related to, just because I don't have that great of a knowledge of the Bible, was David and Goliath.
Peter walking on the water, because, you know, he didn't quite know if it was Jesus, and said, you know, call me to you and I will come. And he did, and he started to, you know, he trusts Jesus. He went out, he started walking in the water, and then the storms came and he took his eyes off Jesus and he started to sink. Everything was just coming crashing down on him. And I just think about that with us, you know, this was our storm, but because we've kept our eyes on the Lord the whole time, we have been able to get through the storm and, like you said, conquer everything that we didn't think that we'd be able to conquer.
CTA has become ministry because we're helping families leave the hospital with something. It's also bridging that gap so they have resources. Our hope is that these couples can see the website that the bear's tagged with. They can go to it and there's full resources for them.
I mean, it's hard enough to say goodbye to your child for the last time when you just had him, but to have something to fill your arms and help ease that pain, just kind of help take the sting away a little bit.
He's 16 months now. It's amazing to see just different things we've done with him to honor Colin, to show him Colin, teach him who Colin is.
Every week we go to the cemetery and we have, if the weather is cooperating, picnics with Colin, and Lucas obviously has been a part of that. And if we aren't able to have picnics, we still at least go and visit for a little bit. And there's, on Colin's marker, there's a little boy kneeling and praying, and we always bless the top of his head. And Lucas does it now too. This is what we call Colin Bear, because he's our physical representation of Colin. If we're not at the cemetery every night, we bless Colin Bear, and Lucas gives him kisses and blesses him, and we always point to Colin's pictures because they're all around the house, and we'll point, there's Colin, there's your big brother, and so Colin's very much a part of his life, and we have faith that Colin's more a part of his life than what we even understand ourselves.